because especially since we're running late, it's almost farmer's midday. So yeah, I'm Sunil, and I am doing a crazy experiment called Patchwork Urban Farms, which I started last year. I've been farming for maybe about 10 years now. Most recently up in Pennsylvania, and I just moved to Asheville about 2.5 years ago. And somehow started this thing called Patchwork, which I tell people that it's more like it's happening to me rather than coming from me. I'm not sure how it all came about, but suddenly I was doing it, and suddenly all this land came into my lap. I don't own any land, I just make partnerships with landowners, and most of them are based on trade, well, all of them are based on trade. So I run a CSA program, and so I trade for land, and for a lot of my labor is in trade as well. But I also try to make enough surplus to make money as well. And so that's like the grand experiment behind all of this. And so right now I have 9 different spots all around town that are all acting as one farm. So I grow crops that seem to make sense in whatever locations that I'm growing in, and then I do the CSA program. I have a roadside stand. Another part of the farm is that we have a large social mission around food access. One of our farm plots is in a food desert. So we just, actually the owner of that plot, Michelle Smith, her boyfriend Ned, just built us like this permanent stand on the side of the road, which is really awesome. And I just want to plug that because it's going to require like the city to come to it. It's really about bringing energy into that space so the neighborhood, that food desert, can see opportunity, and not just access to food, but opportunity to create micro-enterprise, home-based micro-enterprises and things like that. So we're in just the beginning stages of trying to build that, and it's really exciting, but also it's going to require a lot from the city to actually take time to come out there. But that aside, that's kind of what we're doing. We roadside stand, we do a farmer's market, and we sell to restaurants a little bit too. And so this year we expanded quite a bit. Last year we started with like about 6 plots by the end of the season, but we were mainly producing on only about 3 plots. And this year we got a lot more land opportunities, and a lot of the land seemed like, oh, this soil seems pretty good, lots of worms, I think I can just grow on it, and make a lot of money. And so last winter I was thinking that this whole season was going to be a season of building gardens rather than producing a lot of food. And so my strategy was that I would use small animals to create a little bit of cash flow while I developed gardens into really fertile, vibrant gardens that would reduce the need for short-term pest control and pest management. And so instead, a lot of the land looked pretty good, and I got this idea that, oh, I can get to break even a little faster maybe, And so we just started growing a lot of vegetables, which now realizing was not a great idea, because it's something that I think, rushing into a lot of, annual crops is something that's not a good idea. I feel like you really need to build biodiversity, you need to build soil, you need to build all these things that will support vigorous plants that will, in effect be very immune to a lot of pest pressures just by virtue of being super vigorous. And pests are thought, or known to be nature's cleanup crew, right? They're going to go and find weak plants. A lot of times, if you have a planting, and some of the weaker plants that are just not growing as vigorously, those are the ones that the pests are like really honing in on, and sometimes you'll see huge infestations on just a few plants, but the rest are looking great. And for some reason, those few plants just didn't have the conditions that they needed to actually not call in nature's cleanup crew, you know, to clean them out and you know, create, like those cleanup crews actually create you know, a stronger overall kind of picture, you know, because they're cleaning out the weak and allowing the strong to take the place. So so yeah, so this year we're almost a third of the way through the CSA season, and finding that lots of new land bring lots of new surprises, and so we're you know, trying all kinds of new strategies with this multi-plot thing, and pests haven't been a huge issue, aside from, I'm afraid of cucumber beetles and bacterial wilts taking a stronghold, but I think we're kind of in control of that right now. But my major sort of strategies outside of, I'm not going to repeat anything that Patrick and Randall said, but I totally know that diversity is key, and I think that's been emphasized enough. But some of like the, you know, immediate, in my situation, I'm trying to find a lot of immediate kind of solutions as well. I've never done any conventional type growing, so I don't really know how to do that even. You know, my first line of defense is physical barriers, you know, insect netting and row covers. Those I find are really effective, especially for early spring flea beetles and that kind of thing. And then I do spray BT. Not so much. I don't like spraying, like the act of spraying I don't really enjoy, so I tend to not spray enough more than spraying too much. So, but I did get a gas-powered sprayer this year, so it's a lot easier to spray. So we're spraying, yeah, that whole thing.
Your arm falls off.
Yeah, 5 gallons on your back, and you're just like doing this, and it's really tiring. But I'm right now we're trying to do a large-scale kind of compost tea spraying regime, and so every 2 weeks we're spraying compost tea. We're doing spraying fish, and here and there we throw in BT or neem or something like that. And you know, when the plants are, you know, when the pests are really intense and the plants are weak to begin with, then I usually just, in this, you know, startup situation, you know, just clear it out and replant and try to make it better for the next round. And other than that, I'll just kind of open it up to questions because I don't want to just keep rambling on without.
Thank you, because you're growing in so many urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
And the farm stand, by the way, guys, on Choctaw. It's kind of the corner of Choctaw and McDowell, going back towards South French Broad, is incredible. It has ducks. It's amazing. They're selling food out there in an area where you couldn't get food like that before. So it's a really amazing thing, and it's brand new. Are you guys having problems with groundhogs?
Oh yeah.
What do we do?
Well, I do. Well, when I was farming in the country, I would just kill neck traps on their holes. But in the city, you can't do that because you might catch a cat or something.
Right.
So I've been resorting to sulfur bombs.
Okay.
And they work sometimes. When the dens are really extensive, it seems like they might have deeper spaces that they can.
Does it kill them?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one thing we don't really
Well, I mean, you know, we're not,
I guess,
we are mountain people. Like, we're like, it's okay. We want to use it, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
we have one with babies, and it's just torn.
there's
they're really cute too when they stand up and they eat.
I know, and just watching us, they're like, you know, but then they go through the garden and devastate your garden.
Yeah.
How do you devastate your garden?
Yeah,
Everything but peppers and onions. So.
Yeah, so relocation is also an option, although that's also not so friendly either because they're pretty territorial animals and likely you're going to put them in someone else's territory and there's going to be some kind of violence that comes from that. So it's like for me, like killing seems, and I'm hoping that we come to a place where we start to use groundhogs as a protein source because it would be a very nicely sustainable protein source for us. Yeah.
So what would you say if somebody said to you that organic farming isn't all it's cracked up to be because there was a farmer over in Haywood County who was next door to an organic farmer who didn't treat his tomatoes for blight, and that they have spores that travel, right? And so the farmer next door, who was a conventional farmer, lost his whole crop of tomatoes because the organic farmer didn't treat for blight. What do you say to that?
Did the conventional farmer spray for blight? Which clearly didn't work either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing the story from somebody else who, so I don't know all of it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I wouldn't think that with blight as the thing, I wouldn't think that that would really matter too much. Because when the conditions are right, it's going to be there, you know. And so you have to try to, as an organic grower, you have to try to prevent it from ever taking hold by populating microbes on your leaf surfaces that will actually form, you know, a biological barrier, so to speak, or you know, spraying copper as a preventative, which has to be done in very, very carefully because you can overload copper in your soils. But most soils are deficient in copper, so you can probably go pretty far with copper. And then there's all kinds of other, like, it seems the strategies constantly, like I called Patrick a couple weeks ago, I was like, what do you do for late blight? Because it's constantly evolving and changing. I'm like, so, and I know he's got some latest on everything, so I'm like, okay, what do you do? So I can do it too, kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know, it seems like with blight, it seems like that would be not the reason necessarily that the other guy got the blight, the conventional farmer got the blight. But say if it was insects, you know, say if we were like allowing insects to proliferate, and a lot of them were pest species that we weren't controlling because we're organic and we just don't really have the means or the ways to control them. You know, I don't know what I would say. I would probably try to figure out how we could work together to make it work. I don't know if anyone else has some.
Well, I would say for blight, the odds are very good that they both got it from the neighbors who kept their volunteer potatoes. That's the only place that it overwinters in our climate. It does not, it's host obligated, it has to have a live host. Otherwise, it's coming up from the Gulf, or Walmart and Lowe's are selling it to us. You know, it's not too likely that usually if you're next to each other and the organic farmer gets it, the same pressure is landing on the conventional farmers. And, you know, unless the organic farmer leaves it in forever, which usually you don't do, usually you take them down, it's not too likely that it came from there. I mean, usually it's got to do with the pressure that time of year and stuff. And by the way, it's coming down the pike right this minute. Temperatures below 60 degrees are when we usually see it. So be prepared, folks. You know, that's the. As far as insects go, usually it's the opposite. Usually we suffer because they spray. And what happens is the insects move away from the spray into our places. You know, I think I've already put my theory on insect control out there, and I think I hold to it. You know, I don't think that we're causing that problem. You know.
So conventional farmer, do they have pretty good methods for preventing the blight?
They have some really big guns, and in lots of years those big guns work, and in bad years they don't. We grow tomatoes in Mills River. We're surrounded by conventional growers. We're getting the blight that they get, and they're controlling it, and we're having a harder time controlling it. We've gone to growing only really for production, for feeding the hungry. We only grow the really blight-resistant varieties that NC State's come up with. Anybody that wants to, I'm glad to tell them afterwards. And we tried growing heirlooms with the greenhouse. We just got blown away today. You know, covering it was, we had a huge storm that knocked trees down apparently and stuff. And that's our solution. We didn't even grow heirlooms last year because we have so much pressure we're actually on the other end of it, you know. And really, when I give disease talks, I say that the first control of those kinds of diseases is community. We need to talk to each other, let each other know when it's in there, and share whatever spray routines we have, and be responsible together. If you're growing volunteer tomatoes in this climate, you are the typhoid Mary of late blight. That's the first place it's going to come from. You know, and I love volunteer potatoes. They're really great, you know, free potatoes. But if we had blight year the year before, you know that's where it's coming from. You know, and it's also climate change. We're getting it we're getting it earlier and earlier all the time because it's warmer and it gets to come up here faster. You know, and just don't buy your plants from box stores. I mean, I can give you 25 different reasons why not to, but late blight is a number. They spread it over the entire East Coast. You know, it's a great way to get it. I mean, that really is it. It's prevention, it's community, we talk together, and there's all kinds of different spray routines. All of them work a little bit. Late blight's a real thug. Starves a lot of Irish. You know.
Yeah, I think really like just understanding, like in that situation with a neighbor, like understanding, you know, what affects what their management regime has and what affects our own do, and how can we create a way to communicate about it enough to like make it work together in some way. But yeah, I think it's about communication really.
Anybody else? Guys, that was excellent.